It's worth starting this question by saying it is the financial requirement under Tier 4 that is normally causes the most problems for students, and it's where we see people making the most mistakes and getting their visas refused, not because they don't have enough money, but because of the format that you have to show the money that you have. And this is why points-based immigration and the points-based system can sometimes be a bit difficult, because it's a very prescribed amount of money, and you have to show it in a very specific format, and it's just worth knowing that. An immigration official cannot use their discretion when they are making a decision on your application around finances. So even if you've got huge amounts of money, if you've not held it for a certain period of time, or it's not shown in the right format, they would just it's an automatic visa refusal, and that can be really frustrating and can create some real problems. So really make sure, and this is where you really need to be prepared for the visa application processes around money. So in general, you need to show that you have enough money to cover the tuition fees for the first year of your course, or for your entire course if it's only a one-year program or less than 1 year. Plus you need a set amount of money for living costs. Now for students who are coming to study in central London, that amount is £9,000 for a course that's 9 months or longer. If you're going to be studying outside of London, that's £7,200, because the cost of living in London is slightly higher. So in general, you need £9,000 plus the tuition fees for the first year of your course, and that money needs to have been held in a bank account for a consecutive 28-day period before you can make your visa application. And that is really important. You have to have held that money for that period of time. And if you haven't held that level of money for 28 days, if you've only held it for 27 days, for example, it's an automatic visa refusal, and this is where it can get a bit more difficult. So really important to know that. The documents you need to provide need to show that that money has been held for those days, and that the balance of your account hasn't dropped below the required amount during that period. So ideally, bank statements that show a running balance on the account are really helpful, or a letter from a bank, but the letter has to confirm that that money has been held for the required period. And what an entry clearance official will do when they're looking at your application and assessing your application, they will look at the date of the closing balance on whatever document you are providing, and then they will work backwards from that date for 28 days, and at all points during that period you must have the minimum required amount of money. So that's what you need to show. Now the immigration rules specify that that money must be personal cash funds, must be held in a personal bank account. So it needs to be either in the student's name in a personal account, or you can show money that is held in your parent's name or your legal guardian. And a legal guardian is really someone who's adopted you, you know, in a court of law. You can't use money that's held by any other relatives unless they are your legal guardian. So either in your name or in the name of your parent or legal guardian. And if you're showing money in your parent's name, you also have to show a birth certificate, an original birth certificate, to confirm that they are your parent, plus a letter from your parents confirming that that money is for your studies. So that's if it's in your parents' account. Some students also are funded through scholarships, so that might be a government scholarship from your home government, or from the British Council in the UK, or from your educational institution where you're coming to study. That's fine, as long as that meets the requirements. The scholarship covers that minimum amount of money required, so £9,000 for living costs for the first year of the course, or 7,200 if you're outside of London. That's fine, and you need a letter, a formal letter from your financial sponsor confirming the terms of that scholarship. We also have some students who are funded by large businesses as well. That's fine as long as the company is classed as an international company. You can't be funded for your studies by a company that's not designated an international company. And an international company is really a company that has an office, a registered office in more than one country. And if you're not sure whether the company who is wanting to sponsor your studies is classed as an international sponsor, I would make sure you double check that with your institution before you make a visa application, because if it's not, then they would refuse the visa. Your bank statements, if you're using personal bank statements, must have the bank name and logo on them. They must confirm that the money has been held for the required 28-day period. They must contain your name or your parents' name and the account number. And it is worth just being aware that in certain areas of the world, Bangladesh, Pakistan, I think, Iran, there are some other countries as well. There are some banks that the UK government won't accept statements from. So there are some banks that or financial institutions that the UK government say don't satisfactorily verify information held in their bank accounts, and therefore they won't accept documents from those. And those are listed online, and again, certainly for City University, we publish that information on our website, so it is worth just double checking to make sure your bank statements are okay. And the international advice team at City University certainly will check bank statements for students if they want to scan them and send them over by email. We can have a look at those and make sure they meet the requirements before you apply. Because we don't want to get we don't want your visa to be refused, and students don't want their visas to be refused. So it is worth checking. If you're not sure, always check.